Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. So today's video is going to be very exciting. I found the best explanation of what Palantir Foundry is and how it's going to work and how it's going to change the future. And this video is done by a gentleman called CodeStrap. And by the way, if you're watching, you're very welcome to come and do an interview with me on this channel. And thank you so much for all your help on your Discord. And I'm actually going to link his original video here. He is very technical. I would like to, obviously his videos are towards developers and data engineers, and I would like to ask him some questions and do videos where I explain we with the person that I'm doing the interview with, we explain in very easily understandable terms what Palantir does. And, so that more people can understand and take advantage of this fantastic investment opportunity. It's going to be really amazing. I promise. You know that I always say that Palantir is a 10 plus years opportunity. And if they succeed, there is a very big risk reward ratio, and their success is going to be so big that it's not possible to model right now in the current models that we have. And the reason why I'm so excited about this, because I was part of a startup and unfortunately that startup didn't succeed. And I have personally lost around $100,000 on this startup. And part of the reason of the failure was that we were not able to get data fast enough on how things were really going in the company. It was an online business. And we were selling online courses, and we had very many programs that had data about a lot of things. And I had to do Frankenstein solutions to make the programs communicate together. And still it was super hard to get actual data out. Even for our business, it would have been very beneficial to pay tens of thousands of dollars for a good data analytics software that's easily able to analyze what is happening. So I don't know if you have this problem in your business, but I can definitely see, obviously for a hairdresser, this is not a problem, but for many businesses that are very digital, this is increasingly very important. So let's get into the video. The original video link is down below, and this is the best explanation of Foundry yet. I will keep my commentary to the minimum.
But yeah, let's talk about data applications for a minute, as we're kind of circling around it. A lot of people have been asking me in the comments too, like, what are data applications? What is this all about? How does it relate to Foundry and Palantir, Snowflake, Databricks, Microsoft? And a lot of people are skeptical of data applications. So in my mind, data applications are going to go way beyond what they are today, which when people think of a data application, they're thinking like maybe a workbook or like a data analysis built in Tableau, or Amazon has a tool for doing this. I forget what it's called, but there's a tool for visualizing big data in Amazon. And they think just like visualizations, reports, alerting, that kind of thing. Absolutely not, right? So like, why? Today what happens is I built 70% of an organization's software is SaaS, right? So like, and what does that SaaS product do? That SaaS product largely fucking moves data around. It writes records to a database. You change a record in it. It's got some specific logic around how records are handled, transactions are handled, workflows that are involved, if you need approvals and automation there. And then they do legal compliance, So a good example, that might be your HR software, right? So like your HR software is responsible for a lot of things, and also integrating with your payroll, whatever is going to happen, in your surrounding org, with other systems. So like, that's a really good example. Like, why can't I? But what happens there is like all the data that's in that system ends up in this siloed SaaS product provider's database, whether that's in your AWS account or your Azure account, or it's in a SaaS silo that you need to pay a lot of money to get access to. And then you can bring that data back into your big data platform where you can analyze it. And that same problem is replicated across every SaaS product a company has, right? So like, Google Analytics is a really good example, and it is expensive. Like $500,000 spend on Google Analytics is not uncommon if you have a lot of traffic, And so, and I think the entry point for enterprise on Google Analytics is $150,000. So all your website traffic that you technically own is going over to this other company, and you have to pay a lot of money to bring it back into your organization and actually enrich your other data with it. Why do you want to do that? Because like you find interesting things when you enrich that data with things like weather patterns, and that's an actual real world example. My boss worked at a company where, they found that their revenue was tied deeply to weather patterns, right? You only find that out if you are able to enrich your data with all this other stuff. And that's what data-driven decision making is all about. And so we're spending all this money to go out there and do integration work to bring all the SaaS crap into the data warehouse. Like, why not just build the SaaS product on top of the data warehouse to begin with, right? Then all the data is generated in the data warehouse. It's already integrated. But to do that, we need a system like Foundry datasets that can do both analytics and transaction processing. That's a hard problem. Not many people have figured that out. And then you also need a low-code to no-code application layer so that you can rapidly build these things. And you need a way for current SaaS providers to export their offerings to run on top of the data warehouse in some kind of a templatized system, which Foundry has. Foundry templates allow you to build a reusable application in Foundry, soup to nuts, including the data pipelines, all of the application logic, all of everything, soup to nuts. You can import it, run it on your Foundry instance. All you have to do is link it to the underlying data sets. And that's actually how they distribute their own software and build their own software. My understanding is that's how Skywise was built. That's how HyperAuto is built. It's a template. You can import it into your Foundry instance. All you have to do is supply the underlying dataset connections, and voila, everything spins up. You have a fully running application within hours after the data has been processed. So that's what data applications can become. They can become like full-blown workflow automation. They can become full-blown transactional systems, and they can replace the cloud, right? Why is that important? If you, the CEO of Databricks talks about this. I don't know if he came up with the term sky compute, but he describes it as sky compute, so I'm going to use it, which is a layer above the cloud providers. And he lays out real-world reasons why companies want that, because they're finding they're spending a lot of money with those cloud providers, and they're finding that the applications they built on those cloud providers are hard to move. And they don't want their business tied to this one provider who's charging them insane amounts of money. It is not cheap to run workloads on AWS. Let me tell you, it is expensive. Yeah, they get you in that door with the free tier, but the minute you really start ramping on there, it starts to cost money, real money. And we're always looking at ways to drive those costs down. And the other thing is, like, those providers can be, they can go down, and your business just can't go down. So even building a multi-region, multi-tenant, so a multi-region active architecture on AWS is freaking hard, dude. Like, really, really hard. It's really easy to get wrong. And even AWS will tell you, don't build multi-region active architectures. And to have the kind of durability companies want, they want those multi-region active architectures. Now, what about a platform that can just solve all those problems for you, right? You don't build the software on AWS, you build it on Foundry, or you build it on Databricks, or you build it on Snowflake, and they'll worry about the redundancy, durability, distributing your workloads to the cheapest cloud provider, providing the ephemeral compute layer. Now you can start to see how products like Rubix, that deeply technical thing I was explaining earlier, would be absolutely vital to a sky compute platform. So data applications, in my opinion, are the future of software. Like, it's not just the future of Foundry or Snowflake. I mean, I think this is like how all software should run and should be built in the future. And now you have instant access to all of your data. And Foundry, is very unique in this space. Like, Snowflake's data application offering, which they acquired Streamlit to power, is really limited. I mean, it is more like visualizations and dashboards, and Databricks is the same thing. They're really like notebook offerings. No one's figured out how to build an actual piece of production software and distribute it except for Palantir. And it's only because they were so early to figure this out. I think it was a secret they sort of figured out at some point that this should be the future of software. They're not the only ones that know that, by the way. Like, a gentleman from Andreessen Horowitz last year in 2021 was saying how he believes like every SaaS product is going to be rewritten as a data application to run on top of the data warehouse. And that's an insight I've had going way back to my first video I did on Palantir. Like, I felt there was a need for a platform like this that's going to replace ERP. It's going to replace all these other systems. It's going to replace the current versions of SaaS. And organizations will finally have a unified data platform, a big data OS that runs all their software, and they can instantly have insights into the data. And this gentleman from Andreessen Horowitz said, the thing I want to see is a line out the door of startups that are going to rebuild SaaS on top of data warehouse. That's an interesting thing if you think about it, people. If you're a developer out there, you might want access to Foundry. You might find yourself getting funded by Andreessen Horowitz to build the next generation of SaaS. So, in my opinion, I think that's right. I think that's where software is going. No one knows it yet. They're Palantir is extremely early in that game, but they're the only company, the only one that has a platform to do it, in my opinion. And it's going to take those other people years to build a platform like that.
So you heard it, and it's really amazing because this is exactly what the startup that I was involved with had a problem with, that we had the credit card company's data somewhere, we had a chatbot, we had an email system, we had a course providing system, and it was even so hard to connect together, like who was the person who came in the chatbot and then bought from the credit card system and was on the course. Like even we had to figure out a Frankenstein system to correct this. And the reason why our business died is because we had a customer acquisition cost, and then we could never increase the lifetime value of a customer over the customer acquisition cost. And the problem was that it took so freaking long to even figure this out. And we were a 2 or 3 person startup. So I cannot imagine how much better a company like, Nike or, NHS or, the companies that have a crap ton of data, how much money and efficiency they save with using Palantir. And really, if they succeed with this, they become the operating system of the future. And then they will inevitably become a multi-100 billion to maybe a trillion company. Who knows? But this is not going to happen tomorrow, and it's not going to happen next quarter. So stay calm, diamond hands, and I will see you in the next video. Let me know if this video was helpful and subscribe if you haven't. See you.